Hi guys, this is Sabiasobi, and today, well, everyone seems to be talking about a certain sword-tailed monster that loves to bully ruffians and mushroom gatherers. My gosh, anyone remember that? You're like sent out to gather mushrooms in the forest or something, and so I was just chilling, taking a break from consecutive hunts by doing this key quest in Monster Hunter Cross or Generations, and then the next thing I know, this hulking devil T-Rex with a giant sword for a tail comes lumbering in and tries to skewer and barbecue my poor hunter who is dressed up in super epic Great Macau armor. Ugh. We're just collecting mushrooms, they said. It'll be fine, they said. What a load of crock that was. Freaking village people. By that I mean the people from Burna Village, not those dudes who sang YMCA and in the Navy. So I woke up extra early this morning to go to work and get ahead with my deadlines when I opened my email and noticed that Capcom sent over a press release at 8 AM Pacific time. It was about a new Monster Hunter World Iceborne trailer, so I went ahead and downloaded it, watched the thing, and lo and behold, it ended up teasing Glavenus, also known as Dinovald in Japan. Needless to say, I immediately posted a video and wrote a quick story with about 5 minutes to spare before our morning newsroom meeting. On that note, please feel free to check my article out before it gets bumped down into oblivion in the Google search results once the bigger gaming outlets start writing about the Glavenus announcement. Actually, I see some YouTubers that I subscribe to in those search results. Anyway, I finally got back home from another long day at work and I decided to analyze the new Iceborne trailer just a little bit more. First off is the new base of operations for Iceborne called Seliana, according to the Capcom press release. The area is described as a warm haven in an otherwise chilly environment. Well, warmer would probably be more accurate, as it still looks mighty chilly to me. I mean, I guess you don't need a cool drink at the camp, so that's that. Anyway, it appears that we had the fleet's whole command structure pack up and go to the frozen tundra of the New World. A line that I'm sure has English teachers twitching everywhere since a tundra by definition is frozen. At least the ground beneath it is frozen all year round, so you don't really need to add the word frozen before it. I think. So please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. In my defense, I'm an English minor, not a geologist. Yeah, so it looks like we're getting a new base in the frontier that's staffed by folks in the spiffy new snow gear shown in the original Iceborne reveal. It kind of looked like a cross between Assassin's Creed and Big Lizard armor. You know, like your Great Jaggy armor and Great Baggy armor and the like, except with lots of fur. I must say the fleet works fast, man. Score 1 for the masters of back-breaking labor. Wonder if they're unionized. I also thought that using popos to pull the carts was a nice touch, though it makes me half expect a predatory monster to come jumping out from the background to prey on them. Yes, I'm still traumatized by years of Monster Hunter cutscenes where popos and Aptonauts get slaughtered by the Rathaloses and Tigrexes or Tigrexes of the world. Monster Hunter World. Now, the other sure thing in Monster Hunter World, besides defenseless herbivores being attacked, would be hunters being blown off the sky while hitching a ride with one of those little flying dragons. This time you get the Team Rocket blasting off again treatment from Legiana, but not just your regular Legiana. According to info sent over by Capcom, this is actually a variant known as the Shrieking Legiana. Not to be confused with the soft-spoken Legiana that used to do poetry readings at Borders bookstore, at least before Borders went bankrupt. Hey, maybe that's why it turned into the Shrieking Legiana. Yeah. Anyway, this version is apparently covered in a white frost, which the monster can then use to freeze the air around it and ferociously attack hunters. Not sure if that just means it has stronger ice attacks, or if it's actually covered in a frost aura, the same way that Teostra is covered in a flame aura, or Valhazak is covered in miasma. If it's the latter, then that would be cool. Pun so totally intended, as it means that you'll need to counteract it with maybe skills or a cool drink. Granted, it'll be a pain to fight against it if that's the case, but adapting to such shenanigans is what Monster Hunter is all about. By the way, if you're lucky enough to attend E3, Capcom says it will have a playable demo for attendees with 3 monsters to fight against. One is Great Jagras, of course, for beginners, followed by Bampro for intermediate players or folks who want to check the monster out, and then last but not least is Tigrex for players who want a more advanced challenge, also known as Pain and Suffering. Speaking of Tigrex or Tigrex, I keep saying Tigrex, maybe I'm used to saying Tigger. Actually, you know what it is. It's because in Japan they call him Tigrex, or Tigrex, or something like that. That's why I call it Tigrex. So you know what? I'm gonna stick with Tigrex. Sometimes in life, you gotta make the hard decisions. Anyway, speaking of Tigrex, Tigrex is the monster that made me learn Greatsword back in the day. Critical draw, baby! It's really great against Tigrex. Anyway, I actually wonder how many folks ended up learning to use Greatsword because of this guy. Now, first off, I must say that Tigrex looks nice, not just in a high-definition way, but with the extra details from Monster Hunter World's graphics. Add World's camera angles to the mix, and this fight ends up feeling even more visceral and in your face. This roving, living air horn on 4 legs also keeps a lot of Tigrex's familiar moves, like the claw swipe, and the rock throw, and the spinneroonie, and jumping volt, and of course that super loud roar of his, or hers. In fact, I still remember the first time I got hit by a Tigrex super roar and saw my life bar take damage. I'm like, what the heck? It's kind of like listening to this old Filipino band called the Boyfriends, whose songs pretty much sound like a ripoff of the Bee Gees in Tagalog. And by that I mean that listening to that stuff pretty much drains the life out of you. Correction, drains the life out of me. Because I actually know people who actually love the Boyfriends. Apparently there's a market out there for bands that sound like its members got kicked in the groin while singing Rock Baby Rock. Yeah, that's an actual song. Rock Baby Rock! Except, you know, sounding like the Bee Gees. I'm not even kidding. But I digress. The Iceborne trailer also showed a brief glimpse of the Elder Dragon Velkhana. Its moves included an airborne attack that summons big chunks of ice from the air and also the ground. So you're pretty much getting hit on both ends there. The monster also has a sweeping ice beam that would make Lapras proud. The trailer also showed glimpses of several types of gear. There's the furry snow-type armor that I mentioned previously. Then there's this one used against Shrieking Legiana that includes Rathalos-style wing patterns mixed with the familiar red scales and metal of the previous Rathalos sets. The Master Rank armor was used with a lance that appears to be made of bone. I guess you can say that the hunter had a bone to pick with Legiana. Though I won't quit my day job. Meanwhile, the Tigrex fight showed 3 armors, including this one with the Great Sword during some sort of opening cinematic scene. Then it switches to the Cougar armor, which gets the Monster Hunter World treatment. It appears that the hunter is using what looks to be the new Cougar Insect Glaive, which looks a lot like the Lunastra Empress cane, except with those black Narga offshoots. There's also this knight-looking armor that has a bit of a Final Fantasy vibe to it. One new feature shown in the trailer involves hunters riding Jagras. Guess they thought the Palico riders can't have all the fun. Capcom confirmed that these are called RAIDER rides, and I wonder if it's limited to Jagras or if you can ride other monsters like Shamos as well. It's basically another neat thing to add to the list of new features for Iceborne. The story meanwhile kicks off with a rare sighting of the Legiana in the ancient forest. This then leads to the discovery of the Legiana migration and song, which are apparently mentioned in some old notes. Yeah, old and crusty notes. The trailer then shows a poor Anjanath that's turned into Popsicle, followed by a mysterious purple monster scale with pink highlights. Yeah, this sure sounds familiar. Eventually the narrative starts tying into the failed expedition from 40 years ago, and how the next generation has the responsibility of finishing the task. This then leads to a scene where you come face to face with a Rathian that appears to be eyeing you, only for your character to realize that it's actually looking at something behind you. Look behind you! Behind! That's when you see a familiar set of purple toes with pink highlights and Glavenus' trademark Fiery Slash. Man, I can already see a brute dream match turf war between Glavenus, Deviljho, and Anjanath at the same time. Could you imagine that? Glavenus' arrival is especially exciting because it portends to other monsters potentially showing up. Glavenus, for example, is one of the Fated 4, so does that mean we might get Astalos, Gammoth, or even Mizutsune? I think Astalos should be an easy addition, and then you got Gammoth, who is a natural in the snow. Mizutsune could be a bit of a challenge due to the difficulties the team was having with incorporating the Leviathan skeleton into World's new environments. Then again, they could have very well designed Hoarfrost to accommodate it. Now, besides the Fated 4, or if that doesn't work, another possibility is the inclusion of all the flagship monsters, as mentioned in this Reddit post. Given how Monster Hunter World is a special iteration of the franchise that brings it into the next generation, it wouldn't be unusual to celebrate that by having all the game's flagship monsters present. Lagacruz might be a challenge due to the Leviathan skeleton that I mentioned earlier, but that could very well have been solved in Hoarfrost design, like I said. Anyway, I basically did not expect Glavenus to be added since it's the kind of monster that seems more suited to the classic franchise, but his arrival pretty much means that anything goes at this point. And I'm not just talking about the return or potential return of some older monsters, I'm also talking about the new gear, weapons, and skills that Glavenus brings to the fore. I mean, just imagine Glavenus gear with Master's Touch or Protective Polish, for example. I do hope that it also means Iceborne will be adapting the more stylized gear designs from past games. As much as I love World and the quality of life improvements that it brought to the table, one part that it falls behind compared to the past games are its gear designs. The realistic look of World's armors and weapons, for example, just doesn't excite me like the ones from the previous series. I mean, I'm already a bit worried since the glaive shown with the Narga Cougar armor kind of looks like a repurposed Empress cane instead of an all-new glaive design. I mean, I swear, I'm gonna laugh and then immediately cry if they decide not to use the classic Scorching Blazer designed for Glavenus Greatsword and just take the tip of a Glavenus tail and stick a handle on it. I mean, I'm kind of saying that jokingly, but you never know. All that being said, I'm really excited with Iceborne between this latest trailer and all the previous announcements. I haven't been playing World as much as I used to, largely due to other commitments and the fact that there's not that much new content after Art-Tempered Gigante. I'm also not as motivated to get the Art-Tempered Kulvitareth weapons that I'm still missing because those aren't exactly upgradable, and I don't know if they'll be outdated in Master Rank. I suspect there will be a Master Rank Kulvitareth mission, probably one that finally allows you to take the monster down. Iceborne, though, is just a shot in the arm that the game needs. If previous G-Rank games are any indication, this should have the same amount of new content as a full game, and personally, I can't wait to gobble up all the new content. As always, feel free to leave any thoughts or questions in the comments section. Once again, this is Tabi Asogi, and thank you for watching.